thank you for getting over that you smell like dog
There's a
piss.
video camera in there as well.
Okay. And not sure how to say this. Oh my god, thank you so much for doing that. So paranoia, thank you for the tube on the recep. Ignore last, thank you for the 300 bits. Wow. It's the same three as last time. Yep, Ellen.
Yeah, I'm the Vetro, welcome to the Vetro channel. I'm playing Industry Idol for 10 minutes. Just to talk about this game and how a game with no graphics is still a really good game. It's a factory production line game. It uses chemical symbols to represent interaction of where you can build. And it gives you starting buildings that all have a function. It also has multiplayer interaction, where you can see trades with players. And it works well. The bureaucracy is basically a bureaucracy game. It has transport. Like this building represents all the transport of where stuff needs to go from one place to another. And it has a few places you can go. It has different maps as well. Like this map is in hexagons, but there are some maps that are just in squares. It's a good concept. Like if there were graphics for this game, in terms of just like, you know, static pictures with no animations, representing, you know, what's actually going on in the game. It looks complicated at first, I guess. Like it took me a few minutes to understand like how even to interact. But basically you click on, you know, an empty tile, you put whatever building you want there, and when you click on the building you get a couple of options. For example, this is steel, and steel needs iron and copper, not copper, coal. And you can set its input distance. So for this, it has iron there and there, coal is there. So 1, 2, 3 would be its max distance. And you can set whatever you want it to be, but it's just so you don't use up a lot of fuel for transporting. So if this were to be getting coal from there, like all the way to there, that would be a lot of fuel usage, and then you run out of fuel, and then that's a big problem. It's basically a game over. Power, you've got these two, solar and wind, which on all the graph power, you can see it's wavy because these turn off and on like randomly, so they're not consistent. Like you don't get this peak of output all the time. But these don't turn off the power plants, but they actually need resources. Like these don't need any resources, so you can just place them and then not have to worry about them. Like as you can see, solar panels and wind turbines don't have an input distance because it's not inputting anything. And yeah, and replayability, like Rebirth, is this last building, Swiss, I guess. Swiss is just another word for rebirth in this case. So when you get a bunch of market cap, which is on the is it not there? It's probably the main building now. Nope. General Bank, okay, it's this building. Yeah, market cap, which takes everything that you've got on the map. Actually, it takes all the resources in each storage, because every tile has, with a building on it, has a storage, apart from the power plants. Storage is here. So you can see it's getting storage because it's not giving resources to anything. So right now I can set up an example. Well, I'm just going to play the game and you'll see like production. The production lines of what's possible. But you need to research the production lines first. There's a few metas, like there's a chat there with people talking about metas of what's good. So I'm going to go, well actually I should be going for cars, because on this particular map, like each map gets like a unique modifier for everything on the map. This one has cars. Like it changes every couple of real time. But yeah, it's just a good game to, you know, mind-numbingly play with stocks and money. So these tiles are wood, which is here, already built. So the production line would be wood turns into lumber or paper, put both here because it's just a good spot. And every time you try and build something, it has tile modifiers. You don't really need to pay attention to it. It's just the output. Like, you can always upgrade and get more output, but you generally want to be in the positive always, because later on it gets to a point where you have to be efficient, because it's a roguelike element as well, and the roguelike element is the Swiss stuff, the rebirth stuff, where the currency, well, not currency, but the rebirth points that you get, you can use to upgrade like everything, like when you start a new map. So the best one would be production multiplier, which just ups everything on the map. So it's just an overall upgrade for the game. And yeah, so you can do better each time, each run. And every time you start a new city, like everything that you've built, it's gone forever, and you start the game again, basically. And the wholesale is usually like a good way to make the money that's in game. And you need money, but it's not a massive issue, because eventually like the building permits will get too high to where you won't have enough money, so you will have to restart, because the building permits go up like every time you buy one, which is a random, not random, but any tile that you want to build on is the building permits. It takes one building permit and then however much it costs for the building. So on this map, the resources are coal. I think every map has coal. I might be wrong though. The screen's too bright. I wish there was a dark mode for the Earth to make the water black or something, so it's not so blinding. Coal. Yeah, I think everywhere has coal. I think it's necessity. Yeah. Coal and iron seems to be the main ones. So the only resources that kind of change for each map are aluminium and copper, which isn't on this map. Titanium isn't on every map. There's a choice between gas and oil. Well, you don't get choices. The map is, because that's like the main fuel. You could also use, well, let me show you. There's 3 fuel types, and these are all there is. Like, this list doesn't get any longer, which is a shame, because battery is actually a thing you have to make, and that uses coal, aluminium, and iron to make a battery. It's also got good search bars. You can type anything in to find what you want. Yeah, so batteries need aluminium, coal, iron. But you can, with this building, this is a policy building. Well, I guess it's just for circuits. Like later on, you get circuits, and it needs copper to make circuits, because copper wires. but this policy turns the need for copper into aluminium. So if you have a map with no copper, you have to use this policy. And you get the policy points from, again, a later building. Either Colosseum or books. Culture. Colosseum or books, which make the culture for the policies. But yeah, there's I mean, this is clearly, you know, one small start. Like you can, there is an edge to the map if you thought it was like infinite now. There's an edge to the map. But you could fill the whole map and still not be profitable. Like if you haven't set up the trade, like the distances for everything, and if you don't have enough power, or if you're not making money from higher advanced goods which take up more components, like this. Components of glass is silicon and coal, but eventually, like on the later researches, well, I don't have them all marked. Well, I can type in the building actually. Like the later researches, like quantum computers will need computers and uranium. So computer, you usually have to choose whether you want to make computers or cars, because all of the resources, like plastic is usually used in everything. Aluminium is used in a lot of things. Batteries are only for, well, actually they are used in cars, but not like car batteries. Like it uses aluminium but no batteries for a car. But yeah, this is just a start of how to start. You usually need steel and glass, and just you gradually sell all this stuff. Like the auto sell, so it would pull the resource from anywhere. The trade center. I wish like there's no game mechanic yet, but I wish there was a way to set a minimum or set a specific building, because when you just when you click these buttons or switches, it just it's AI in the background. Just the code is probably as simple as find a building that has these resources and then pull it straight to the trade center and sell it. But it costs fuel to do this, and there's not really any customizations or input the players can have to do what they want. Like it's all AI in the background that's just making this happen. And once there's no resources left, it then finds another one and pulls from that. It's usually the closest. So if if I were to sell steel, it would grab that first instead of going to that, because that one is closer. But once it's run out of storage, it will start to pull from there. And there's no customization. Like if I wanted to sell steel but not from there, like you can't do that. Like I want to sell steel from there. You can place a warehouse. Like it has warehouses, which are not unlocked. I haven't unlocked it. Warehouses where you can, grab resources from anywhere on the map, and it sends them to the warehouse. I'm guessing like a meta is to always put a warehouse next to the trade center and do that way. Like I've done it that way. But it still uses up like so much fuel. Like there's no real production chains, it's only using the warehouses, which is a good mechanic, but as like a building that you start with, and in like the early game of just starting, I wish there were more options that this had, the trade center, instead of just switches. So yeah, after you make 10 Swiss money, which is a market cap of $1 billion, or is it $1 million? $1 billion market cap. And then you move on to the next city, like a roguelike. So yeah, you have to play it a certain way because there's not enough customization in the game for dealing with where it pulls resources to sell them from, or even to store them. Like the warehouse is the only building that has that, player interaction. Otherwise, everything is just static objects. And if this were a game with like high graphics, like 3D graphics simulating like these are actual glass factories, taking stuff from coal mines and silicon mines, like this would be much more of an issue. Like it's already an issue, like not being able to choose, like just giving you like the switches, yeah, cool, but need more options. Need more options to say like pull from a specific building rather than just a code that looks for the closest building. It could be easily implemented, like, and just like, well, there's already like drop down menus here. Like, it could be like this. It could be like instead of, well, not instead. But, careful not to say instead. Like, don't remove any features. Like, everything is good. I'm just saying add stuff to it. Add more options. So it could be another clickable thing like this. Another clickable thing like just under it with another arrow, which lets you click on which building to sell items from. Like if you wanted to have that option. Yeah, simple drop down menu or anything like that. It would make, what's the quality of life kind of update that I'm asking for. I think anyone who plays this and understands like more options would definitely be better, especially for new players who are just looking at the UI thinking, okay, I want something to work a specific way, can I do that in this game? And you'd have to say no to them because the feature doesn't exist. I think it's like, the game's been out a while, it still gets updated. There's a Discord for it. It's not an invisible game. But yeah, this is Industry Idle.